Hello. I think we're here. I think we're live. I'm going to give a few minutes. Um, can somebody just comment? That's such a delay on this end. Can you comment just to make sure we're good? Okay, I think I saw some activity. Happy day to you, of course. Just had a last week when I was adjusting. Just had somebody observing as I was going from table to table. And she said, Tiff, are you always this happy? And I'm like, I am. I really am. That doesn't mean that I'm not stressed. That doesn't mean that I don't have days that are like, what just happened? But in the core of it, happiness in terms of who you are is the most important. And it's the most important act as the co-regulator of your household to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So if you have any gist of how this is going to go, that gives you the synopsis. I'm Dr. Tiff Johnson from Healing Touch. 3 of us chiropractors now. Myself, Dr. Markel, and Dr. Lauren, with an amazing staff to help really take care of every single part of you, the mind, body, soul, and voice. Okay, today, here are the things that I really want to get across. This is going to be a conversation like you're in my living room. It's going to be deep. It's probably going to touch on a few things that you've been thinking and maybe haven't said, or you haven't even maybe thought about. As school nears, and it just gives the opportunity to kind of bring the emotion all together, because as school nears, there's the love-hate relationship between the routine, the fall, for us in the Midwest at least, the like getting back into it, right? Like I think of goals and the things that you really want to lean into, and then there's the chaos of, are we ready as a family? Are we ready? Is my kid ready? Did I do a good enough job this summer? I think of the kids that struggle and maybe they're medicated and maybe you took the summer off from being medicated, like, oh gosh, how is this going to go? Maybe kids are starting to struggle in daycare and you're like, holy crap, how is this going to go? So it doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if it's kindergarten, if it's middle school, if it's high school, if it's college. If it's even your kiddos are teachers, like this all starts to bubble right after the quote 4th of July. That's when people say like, oh, summer's over. So I want to talk about some bigger stuff. And I want to make it very clear that this is about first making sure you're adjusted. Every single person in your family, in terms of my belief and my mission when I opened this practice 19 years ago, I wanted every family to have at least one person adjusted in it. And my goal and our practice's goal is to make sure every single person of your family is adjusted. When there's a struggle, the first thing I'm asking is, when's the last time you were adjusted? When my kids were growing up, my kids now, like, hey, mom, I really need to be adjusted. My first question is, when was the last time you were adjusted? And by the end of this, I'm going to go through the other 5 questions that I ask my kids when they're stressed and when they're struggling with something. Because we get to be the askers. We get to be the curiosity creators. We get to be the mentors of them, not the fixers. We get to ask the question, so they have to like, how do I feel about this right now? Versus like, what do you need me to do? Where do you need me to go? How do we fix this? We have a fear of sitting in the problem, of sitting in the discomfort. And it's likely we were parented like that too. Sitting in the conflict We're like, no, I am not going to do that. Well, our family takes after us. And for many families, the woman is the co-regulator. The woman is the one that, like, when we're unorganized, when we're not taking care of ourselves, when we're feeling sad, mad, angry, depressed, our family is going to follow the same frequency. Kids, kids take heed of energy first, not what you do and not what you say. Energy, like, how are you? They know how we are. It's like our pets. They know how we are. And it's our responsibility to also know how we are. So when it feels like the family unit is starting to, like, fall apart a little bit or be really chaotic, it's up to you, whoever that main person is, mom. I'm going to call you mom for now. It's up to you to really dig in and figure out, what is it that I need to step into? Where do I need to lead more? Where do I need to take care of myself more? And so this living room topic, there's going to be a bit of taboo here, because this isn't what people talk about, because everyone is so interested in you feeling good and you feeling safe and you feeling comfortable. And of course we need that for the nervous system, but you also need to be honest with yourself. You also need to tell the truth. And when we do both of those, when we recognize, like, ooh, I'm feeling quite out of my body right now, I'm feeling quite anxious, and this is why, because I just admitted that, whatever those things are, because it just came to me that this is my responsibility. It just hit me that it's maybe not my kids, it's maybe not my spouse, it's maybe not my boss, it's maybe not my job, but oh my gosh, I haven't been doing this. Mental health is probably the biggest thing in getting back to school, in feeling really secure as a family, in the kids feeling really excited to go back. The the depressed and anxious words are everywhere. I mean, my gosh, 6-year-olds are talking about this. How do 6-year-olds know this? Well, they know it from the people raising them, and they know it from their friends, and it's from the people raising them. So this is a parent thing. This is a parent thing. How do we change all of this? It's us. And when we are rooted and grounded in our own health, in our own mindset, in our own mental, emotional space, we start to be greater co-regulators for our kids. Mental health. I think about all of the traditional, conventional ways of what mental health um, is cured by or is treated with. And those modalities are nothing that I suggest. And I'm not saying that they aren't necessary at certain times for short periods. But that's not how we're using them. We're using them as a coping strategy. We're using them as the fix. And in that process, we've blocked even more of how we feel. So depressed, take a pill. Anxious, take a pill. How can we start to really teach ourselves and them what this actually means? What does it mean when you're anxious to go back to school? Why are you anxious to go back to school? How do we dig into this a bit more so that our kids feel safe in their bodies, our kids feel safe in their classroom, our kids feel safe in their life, not by protecting the shit out of them, but by giving them the tools. And we learn tools by being in chaos, right? We learn how to get through things by conflict. We learn how to get through things by falling on our face and getting back up. So why does it feel like we need to make sure all the waters are clear for our kid to succeed? That isn't it. Their threshold, their tolerance for conflict or for stress is low. And Dr. Mark in 2 weeks is going to talk more about the young kids. I'm going to talk about the old kids, like the teenagers, the high school, the college, the athletes, the busy ones. that are in a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of things they love, and yet they still feel anxious. They still feel maybe kind of depressed. They're still tired. They still have pain. And if they were to ask their friends, that they would say the same thing. They feel the same. And so that becomes their normal. And until we teach a kid that their normal isn't normal, we haven't changed our family. And my goal and responsibility in this lifetime is to change generations. So we can't do that if they don't ever know why they're feeling what they're feeling. If they take a pill the first time they have pain, the first time they have something wrong, now they're just addicted to the quick fix of this, and that is normal. Let's talk about it not being normal. Let's talk about who's excited for school, who feels great about school. Are we getting sleep? Are we eating and drinking well? Are we getting exercise? Are we spending time outside, in the sun, in movement, in exploration? And when I say sleep, I also mean active rest, like downtime, quiet time, pause. Are we doing those things? And one of the other most important parts, and maybe the most important part, is your people. How do you feel with your people? Do you have a sense of belonging with your people? Do you fit in with your people? And by the way, I'm not a fan of fitting in. Oh gosh. But everybody fits into something, and that's their role. That's your responsibility, is to find the people who you fit in with by being your truest self. One of the greatest causes of anxiety and depression is somebody, a kid or you, not feeling good enough in their skin. And now they try to shift who they are. They try to be like other people. They idolize other people. They talk like other people. They think like other people. They lose their power for other people. And then the group that they're spending time with isn't actually their people, because they've changed who they are to try to fit into something that wasn't meant for them to fit into. And you're likely doing the same. We likely all had the same experience in middle school and high school and college of just finding our way. But what I know in working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, well, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, is that most adults don't feel comfortable with their circle of influence. So how would your kids? If they only see that this is normal, how do your kids know any different? If they see that you reach into the medicine cabinet and grab whatever you're grabbing because you feel X, Y, and Z, and you talk about it, and this is part of your family, then why would it be any different if they do and when they do? If they're used to a schedule during the day of people working at home and not leaving the house and being kind of miserable, and after supper you sit on the couch and you watch TV and you take something so that you can go to sleep, and then when you wake up you're really tired, and this is the conversation the whole time. Why would the kids be any different? Why would we ever expect them to be any different? And when there's stressors that come up, aka school, aka holidays, family health issues, family conflict, this just raises. So I'm talking about this now is because this is one of the pinnacles of the year that it feels like everything breaks loose or breaks. Because under so much stress, well, you've probably seen the meme. Whatever you squeeze, whatever comes out of whatever you squeeze is what it is. You squeeze an orange and orange juice comes out. You squeeze a lemon and lemon juice comes out. And so as soon as we get squeezed so tight, so far, and anger comes out, and frustration comes out, and sadness comes out, that is what you're filled with. And if that is the foundation that you're leading your kids through, that's what they're also filled with. So when they have struggles with anxiety and depression, I want you to pick up a mirror and say, hey, where do I need to focus on myself? Where am I not telling the truth? Where am I not being vulnerable? Where am I not holding a standard and a boundary that my kids need to hold, or I need to hold for them, so they learn how to handle a standard and a boundary that is of high regard? That isn't normal. Well, I would like to say I want that to be normal. That isn't normal in society. In society, we have a whole lot of mental health things. We have a whole lot of chronic pain things. We have a whole lot of disconnect and loneliness things. Kids, right now, it's at the peak, don't want to go to school. They don't want to be in groups. They don't want to be around people they don't like. But that's the level of tolerance that we need to teach. Like, how can you handle more so you don't break? And not by covering it up, and not by taking a pill, and not by retreating and pulling away, or not by lashing out, but truly by being able to receive what's happening and what's in front of us and start to walk with it. Nowadays, there's so many opportunities to learn, which is really amazing. And it's amazing for so many kids and parents. And that might not always be the best option for you and your kids. Is it the safest option, or is it the best option? Is it the more comfortable option, or is it the best option? And because there are so many different learning styles now of people, and so many different learning modalities of schooling, I think we can really start to create what's best for our kids. What's best for our kids, not what's easiest. So how do we really start to identify with a, a better life, a higher standard, and knowing that it starts with us? The cliche is, the more you see joy, the more you experience joy, the more you live in joy, the more joy. And then the more joy you have, the more joy they have. And so if we lift the mirror up, moms and dads, what is the mirror telling you? How are you handling life? How are you handling your work? How are you handling your home? How are you handling your kids that are maybe a challenge? How are you handling conflict? Where are you telling the truth? Where are you hiding? Where are you leaning in? Where are you retreating? Where do you want to fight? Where do you want to cry? That's the key. And if you ask how to do all this, the first question I'm going to ask you is, when's the last time you were adjusted? Because the brain is the key to everything. The brain is the key to creating regulation. The brain is the key to safety. And healing happens in safety. Without safety, we don't heal. So, how can now we have this new embodied way of not only focusing on our kids, not only focusing on where they're struggling and what their needs are, but where are our needs in the mix of it? No, as long as my kids are happy, I'm happy. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. I have seen way, 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 way too many people that is not true. And maybe it's true for the moment, but it isn't true in the long run. And I believe we're all here for the long game. Let's look at the long game. Let's see how this fits. Like, how does the long game fit with your decision in the short game? Give a pill. Stay home from school. Hide. Sleep. How does that have to do with, yeah, but the big picture here is what is going on? What does this say about me? What does this say about Johnny or Jane? I believe our kids teach us a lot more than we teach them. And when the pressure for us to have it all figured out, the pressure for us to be experts in something, when it rises to a level that you can't support anymore because it shuts you down, you're trying to save them. But maybe your job is to guide them by how you're living your life, to guide them by what they see, not necessarily what you say. And yes, I know we need to cook meals and we need to pay the mortgage and we need to taxi them everywhere and we need to do all these things, but can we just take the pressure off of needing to have it perfect? Can we bring the family together as a team? Like, hey, this is where we really need support right now. If you need support in keeping your house clean, hire somebody. If you need some support in cooking a few meals, hire somebody. If you need support in having somebody drive your kids to practice and to games, whether that's carpooling or hire somebody. What's the easiest way to do this? Easiest isn't always the best, but most of the time we don't think of the easiest because there's part of us that feels like this is hard and we invite suffering. But what if it doesn't have to be like that? What if you can start to be different and you can start to lead different and you start to know, like, oh my gosh, I didn't get bent out of shape about this question. My panties aren't in a bunch after work because I need to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And instead, I'm actually just going to kind of do what I want. And when I say what I want, I don't mean sit, watch Netflix and drink wine or go take a bath and drink wine or like, that isn't it. That isn't it. Who do you need to be your best self? There's a lot of mom guilt. There's a lot of dad guilt happening. Is that helping you move into this transition of time, of season? Is that helping when Thanksgiving and Christmas comes? And all of a sudden pressure expectation rises again and boom, you've contracted again. You went into perfectionism and then you go into anxiety and then you go into too busy and then you feel awful about everything. And now we still have mom guilt. We still have dad guilt. We still have mom shame and dad shame. So if we just flip the script a bit and I were to ask you, when's the last time you've been adjusted? And you were to truly decide that you are the one first, everything would change. And if you were to ask yourself, number one, how's your food and water been? Number two, how has your sleep been? Number three, I have this written down, your screen time. Number four, exercise. Number five, nature, sun. And number six, your circle of influence. How aligned are all of those? Only you know. Alignment in your body feels like, all is good. When's the last time you felt that about those six things? When's the last time you felt that about more than one? About more than two? About more than three, four, five, six? When's the last time you felt that about all of them? It's possible. So many times we think one needs to happen before two, needs to happen before three, just like 1 + 1 = 2 is so freaking boring. Like, how about we just light this thing up and say, okay, I'm done with doing it this way. I'm actually done with doing it this way. This doesn't feel good. This isn't good for me. This isn't good for my husband. This isn't good for my kids. This isn't good for my parents. This isn't good for friggin' anybody. What do we need to change? To change it all. To tweak it all. Maybe just like 1 degree. Just tweak it. 1 degree changes everything, as we all know. Try to hit a golf ball. Modifying where you hit it by 1 degree. It's going to go a totally different direction. We don't need to burn it all down to change it all. We just need to understand, where are we out of alignment? Where are you out of alignment first as parents? Where are you putting pressure, expectation on yourself that is just irrational and truly not what you can handle? Can your ego take not being able to handle something? Well, no, you don't want to admit it, which means you're not being honest with yourself, which means you're not telling the truth, which means this isn't going to change. Your kids attach to the frequency and the energetics of who you are before they attach to what you say or even what you do. So if you're frustrated, depressed, and anxious about school starting, and you say, oh, Johnny, it's going to be okay. We can do hard things, but you're not. That's a lie. Do we need to be perfect? No. But by example means, by the frequency of how you're existing, living, do they feel like that's a match to you? And as soon as you start to see those tendencies in your kids, boom, that should be the indicator that you need to pull out your mirror. That it's you first. And when there's challenges with our kids and when there's issues with our kids, that's a totally different thing. I work independently with a lot of kids. And usually the first thing I say is, we're first going to work on your confidence. Because what is there without confidence and bravery? What is there without taking action when you're scared? What is there without going to school when you don't know anybody or you don't think you know anybody? That's life, that's threshold, that's capacity. And our nervous system needs to be able to handle that to a point, and it needs to be stretched because it's neuroplastic. Our brain is neuroplastic, which means it changes, which means it's meant to expand, which means you're meant to do new things and bigger things and greater things, and you're meant to challenge yourself. That's how you create your sense of self and your sense of identity. And that's with everything. That's with health. That's with the sense of who you are. That's with how smart you think you are, how much you fit in with your friends, how much you believe in yourself. Like, that's chiropractic. I mean, to be honest, most people wouldn't say that's chiropractic, but that's chiropractic, a healing touch chiropractic. That's what I stand for. And I stand for standing up. I stand for, mom and dads, being your best, not needing to be perfect. I stand for being on your team, but also being on your kids' team. Saying like, hey, this is you. I stand for non-conformity. I stand for standing for something. And I don't want your kids reaching into the freaking medicine cabinet thinking that's normal. I don't want them taking Tylenol thinking that's normal. I don't want them taking cough syrup because that's normal. I don't want them taking Claritin because that's normal. It's not normal. I don't want them going to the walk-in every single time something is weird in their body. I don't want them believing that their body can't heal. I don't want them believing that their mind is messed up. I don't want them believing that genetics is the reason why I'm like this. That's bullshit. I don't want that. That's why I created Healing Touch Chiropractic. That's why I do what I do in all of the ways. I will always tell you the truth. And you're responsible for telling the truth to yourself too. And to your kids. So, if you're listening, I see 3 paths. I see 1, you're triggered. And that's good. I think this probably triggered everybody listening. Something here was like, ooh, there's something here for me to explore. There's something here for me to contemplate. It's not for you to feel bad about. That's when I say pull your big girl panties on. It's not for you to feel bad about. It's for you to learn from. The long game is about learning. We don't really know how to be a parent. We don't know how to do this. That's why I say they're teaching us the majority of the time if we could see that they're teaching us. So if you're triggered, just take in, like, what is it about what she said that triggers me? Because I didn't trigger you. Something I said triggered a belief that you believe very strongly in. And that belief gets to be changed or not. You don't have to believe anything I said. But if you were triggered, there's something here for you. Number 2, you're all in. Like, oh my God, where have you been my whole life? Well, if you're listening, you get 50% off your new patient appointment. You call and you say, hey, I listened to the back to school workshop. Perfect. 50% off your first new patient appointment for however many people in your family that you have. This is the way of health going forward. It's not of how I started this whole thing. It's not about reaching for the quick fixes anymore. We're being called to something much greater as parents, as kids, and as families. This is what I call family legacy. You create it. It's not created for you. You build it. It's not built for you. And three, if you're like, ooh, there's some things here. I want to follow you. I want to get some more information. You can be added to our list, our email list. You can check our website, htchiro.com. We're on Facebook, obviously. Here I am. Instagram, podcast, the Align Life podcast with Dr. Tiffany Johnson. I talk about all of it. The Align Life is like the umbrella of everything, of your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your voice. And how do we do that in a very aligned way in every single thing that I do? This is what I stand for. I stand for healthy families. I stand for a legacy that you want to create far beyond your time here on planet Earth. And so if you want more information, if you have any questions, comment here. I'll be sure to answer any of the questions. I can go on live on our page at any point. That's it. Back to school is just a reminder that there's a transition coming. And in transitions, you get to recognize, like, how do I actually handle transitions? You get to learn about yourself in this and then learn about your kid, because if your kid doesn't handle transitions well, either do you. Or you didn't give them the tools so they can handle it next. You took away all the obstacles so everything is easy. Then they don't learn. Then they don't grow. Then they don't have an opportunity to be brave. And when we take steps being brave, now we build confidence. And when we build confidence, that's sense of self. That's conviction. That's who the hell we are. And I don't care if you're a 2-year-old or an 82-year-old. Sense of self is belonging. Belonging is, do you belong to you? Do you know who you are? And belonging to your circle of influence and your people. So, connection. Connection is what was taken away from us 4 years ago. And it's been replaced with loneliness. It's been replaced with lack of confidence. It's been replaced with scarcity. It's been replaced with retreat. Let's bring this back. Let's bring it back. It starts with you. It starts with you as a leader of your household. It starts with you as a leader of your team. It starts with you as a leader of your family. You are the core to everything, right? Who you are is the core to everything. So let's change it. Let's create healthier generations. Let's create something that you can freaking stand for no matter what. Once again, Dr. Tiff Johnson, Healing Touch Chiropractic. The next one is with Dr. Mark on, I said July last time, I think, August 22nd, 6:45. She's going to talk about going back to school from a young person perspective, a young kid, young family perspective. So I really hope you're enjoying all of these, and can't wait to interact with you. I love you.